Hello, everyone. This is Jim Ogrozinski with your Week 4, Chapter 3 lecture video. So, I'm beginning in the course units here just to emphasize the journey we've been on over the last 4 weeks. If you recall back to homework assignment number 1, the proposal, you proposed a research topic. We went through the questions. A lot of great topics out there. So, we move now into chapter 2, doing all the research and finding sources that fit the criteria for the annotated bibliography. So you have all this information that you have located on your topic. So the idea here is, what do we do with this information? So chapter 3 is all about what Ballinger calls writing in the middle. And let me get into chapter 3 and we'll talk a little bit about that. Many of you have already completed discussion board 7 about the triad, paraphrasing, summarizing, and also quoting. So what we need to focus on at this point is finding that information that is just critical to moving the conversation along about your topic. And Ballinger really kind of places an emphasis on chapter 3. I also viewed as one of the most important chapters in the book. What do you do with your information? And the idea that academic writing is a conversation. It's a conversation between you, your sources, your topic. The idea behind all of this is that thought process. Not only are you reading to summarize for the annotated or looking for information, but really what you're doing is you're thinking about what you're reading. What does it contribute to your research topic? How does it answer some of the questions that you may have? In other words, it is a knowledge generating activity. So, writing as you read is a genuine conversation between you and a source. And you should have a notebook, a journal of some sort, a document open in the computer, and really take notes as you read. Think and read and write at the same time. Helps you to take ownership of your information. And when you take ownership of your information, it is much easier to integrate that into the research essay because you have taken really a good amount of time to understand the material, and therefore you can understand what to cite, what not to cite. You can also develop your ways of paraphrasing a source. And that's what you have to see about it. So a good mention here, if you're talking about paraphrasing, look on page 85. Ballinger talks about a taxonomy of copying. How much of your information do you actually correctly paraphrase and put into your own words? Remember, if you're taking the intellectual property of the ideas of others, you also have to cite that information. So citing sources in text is really kind of critical, a process of avoiding plagiarism. I don't want to get into the big whole plagiarism talk. Maybe we'll touch on that a little bit in the next week's video on chapter 3, the lecture video on chapter 3. But I do want to emphasize the ability and the skill to properly paraphrase or quote. Make sure you attribute, and attribution is naming your speaker, introducing your speaker, using quotation marks correctly, not only citing in text, but also to the works cited page, the cross-reference. If you're citing Wilson in text, then I need to see a Wilson in your works cited page. So it's really important to take a good look here in the course units. I have it in a green headline here. Are the principles of citation. I offer 4 principles of citation about introducing sources, that's attribution, starting and ending points for your material. I need to know where your source information begins and also when your source information ends, and then you pick up the conversation. Also, looking at page numbers, it's important nowadays to think about how we want to close out some of our information, our quotes or paraphrasing. Oftentimes we do this in the parenthetical. However, I have a tendency nowadays not to use sources that are paginated, or to use sources that are not paginated. That means they don't have page numbers. So then you have to revert back to the author. One thing you want to be aware of in citing anything, author is critical. MLA is author and page. If there is no page, it is author. If you have an author, then you must use that name to do all of your citation, whether it's in text or in the works cited page. Not the website, not the article, it's the author. Oftentimes, if you do not have an author, then you must use the title of that particular article or the title of that web page. Never the source. I don't want to see a .com in a citation at all. All right, so here's the principles of citation that are in the course units. I have the lecture video on using and citing sources. I suggest take some time to view the first 8 to 9 minutes, and I talk in depth about the principles of citation. So I want to get back to my course unit here. Let's get to the chapter 3. And after we get through the annotated bibliography, one thing I do want to mention is that we'll move into discussion board number 8, which you will work with a couple of your sources and doing the double entry journal. So that'll be coming up next week after the annotated bibliography. So once again, just to recap, started with proposal, research topic, research, right? Annotated bibliography is going to be exactly the source materials for that original research topic. The 2 sources for discussion board 8 will come from your annotated bibliography. No need to do extra research, just grab a couple from there in your research, and then we're going to start moving on through chapter 3 and making meaning and move into drafting in chapter 4. So hopefully this has been able to provide a bit of clarity on chapter 3 and my thinking on it. Look for the other half of chapter 3 lecture video next week. I mean, as always, you'll have all the slides and the Curious Researcher PowerPoint up in the course folder. If you have any questions, please send me an email. Good luck.